Coming up on Big Ten's Best, we take a look at the top 10 quarterbacks of the 1980s.
George throws. End zone. Touchdown.
From a trio of Illinois gunslingers to a pair of legendary Hawkeyes.
Long on 1st and goal. Lofting it into the end zone. Wide open is Smith and a touchdown.
Count down the best of the best from a decade that brought the aerial attack.
Gets the ball away. Look at this. That's a good play. That's a touchdown.
To the Big Ten Conference. It's the top 10 quarterbacks of the 1980s. Next on Big Ten's Best. A two-year starter at Wisconsin, Randy Wright led the Badgers to back-to-back winning seasons, throwing for over 5,000 yards in his career.
Randy was a winner. He was a guy that wasn't real pleasing to the eye as a quarterback, but he got the job done.
If you talk to most folks, they really thought he was a great student of the game, had very high IQ, and used that to his advantage.
He played for teams that maybe weren't as talented as Ohio State and Michigan, but he kept the Wisconsin Badgers in the games, ran their offense to perfection. One of those guys who's a coach on the field.
Wright also led Wisconsin to their first ever bowl win in the 1982 Independence Bowl over Kansas State.
Winning means a lot to a quarterback, and he was a winner. He won football games.
At number 9, Ohio State quarterback Mike Tomczak.
Mike was a really fiery competitor and extremely good athlete. He could run the option and lead, but in a fiery way.
Now Myers is at fullback. Here's a rollout by Tomczak. He's right on target.
He was a guy that played when hurt, really understood the game. His dad was a great high school football coach from Chicago. He did like the game of football. He had good players around him that knew something about the game of football.
Tomczak laid it in there perfectly to him.
Throwing for over 5,500 yards and 32 touchdowns, the three-year starter for the Buckeyes led Ohio State to 3 straight 9-win seasons and a Big Ten championship his senior year.
Mike Tomczak was a saber dancer. He was like that. Bullet, bullet, bullet. He was really good underneath, and he had enough arm to get it on down yonder too. You know, he was a very effective quarterback in the system that he worked in, and the coaching that he had. He was good.
Coming in at number 8, Iowa's Chuck Hartley.
Chuck Hartley was the consummate tactician. Fundamentally perfect. You want to see a quarterback. You do a prototype quarterback, you're going to have Hartley.
He had composure, he had intelligence, he worked well in the pocket, and he had just a wonderful throwing arm.
Very smart. One of the most intelligent football players I've been around. But Chuck, fierce competitor. He could run. He could move the ball with his feet. He could throw it around with accuracy. Chuck was a winner.
Can Hartley, but the Hawks do it. Hartley sprinting back. It's caught. It's in the 5.
Yes,
a touchdown. I can't believe it. A touchdown to Marv Cook. Holy cow.
The two-time All-Big Ten signal caller passed for just under 7,000 yards in his career while leading Iowa to 2 straight bowl berths.
When I would come to Iowa City, on the Tuesdays and interview the players and talk with them and ask them about Chuck Hartley, and they would always talk about his presence in the huddle, how he exuded confidence in the huddle.
I remember a day when I knocked down one of his balls in a fall camp, and the next play I got drilled in the back of the head with the same ball. So he's a very feisty guy, and he competed every day out there on the field.
Coming up next on Big Ten's Best, the top 10 quarterbacks of the 1980s. 3 Illinois signal callers helped the Illini stake their claim as quarterback U, while in West Lafayette, a Boilermaker was setting all sorts of records for Purdue. A 3-year starter for the Fighting Illini, Jack Trudeau rewrote the Illinois record book, setting school marks in attempts, completions, yards, and touchdowns. Plus, Trudeau set an NCAA record by throwing 215 passes without an interception.
Jack had 215 passes with no interceptions. I mean, that'll get you bragging rights a lot of places.
Trudeau throwing for Brewster and has him at the 5-yard line.
He had great physical size. I think first and foremost he was 6'5", had a tremendously strong arm, could make all the throws.
Defenses feared playing Illinois because of that passing game. They knew they were going to throw the ball a ton, but they knew they were going to have success.
Trudeau will go long. He's got a man up there. Touchdown, Illini. Mitch Dookin.
They completed a lot of passes. I mean, they had that little short game of throwing the ball, and the receivers would run for a lot of yardage afterwards, and they had the ability sometimes to unload the ball for a big plays.
He's to the 20, 10, touchdown.
Despite his impressive numbers, Trudeau is best remembered by Illinois fans for that magical 1983 Rose Bowl season where the Fighting Illini were the first and only Big Ten team to defeat all 9 conference opponents in a single season.
When you go through a season in the Big Ten and you don't lose a single game to a Big Ten opponent, I mean, man, you know where the stumps are. You can get on across that river without a boat.
You take your team to the Rose Bowl, that means you're a special player. It also means you have great talent surrounding you, you know. But again, quarterback is the straw that stirs the drink. And if you don't have a good one, you've got no chance. Jack Trudeau was a good one.
Up next at number 6, Purdue gunslinger Jim Everett.
He could sit back in the pocket and just throw it left and right without a problem. It made it look easy. That was impressive.
He was a big, tough quarterback with a rocket for an arm, heavy, well-built quarterback. Looked like he was chiseled down there, and the quarterback spotted Ross Aid.
58 seconds left, second down, Everett back. Going deep. Has a man down there, and it is... Touchdown! That is Ray Wallace. Touchdown!
Jim thought he could throw the ball through a linebacker to a receiver if he had to. It's like they're in a rowboat rowing, and then Jim Everett comes on, and it's like they got an outboard motor now. He just really had the ability to give a team that kind of juice.
Gets the ball away. Look at this. That's a good play, and it's a touchdown. Gee, Everett did a good job.
Everett led Purdue to the 1984 Peach Bowl his junior year, and then as a senior followed up that success by leading the nation in total offense and finished 6th in voting for the 1985 Heisman Trophy.
The number of passes he completed was outstanding, and the touchdown passes, and he played on a good football team. There's no doubt about that. He played good football.
Up next, the debate still rages in Champaign. Who was the better QB, Tony Eason or Jeff George? Plus, a Michigan field general helped lead the Wolverines to their greatest season under legendary coach Bo Schembechler. You are watching the Big Ten's best, the top 10 quarterbacks of the 1980s. The 1985 High School Player of the Year. Jeff George started his career at Purdue but transferred to Illinois after his freshman year.
Jeff George was probably one of the great talents of our league. I've been in the league since '79, and he was probably one of the true great talents that ever came through here.
Jeff George, a huge talent, maybe the best quarterback, and they had some great ones down there at Illinois that, as far as physical tools are concerned, maybe the greatest quarterback they've ever had.
Try to screen it, it's not there. George is in trouble. Throws it between 3 men and completes it.
Jeff could throw a football 75, 80 yards, a laser beam. The guy had an incredible arm. He could, with a flick of his wrist, he could throw it 40 yards.
The strength of Jeff George was his remarkable release and accuracy. His strong arm, he got the ball off quick. When they came in to do pro day, and they were checking the players out at the University of Illinois, they were shocked to find out how good Jeff George was.
And I remember a throw where he rolled to his left, and he threw an absolute rope 50 yards for a touchdown. And I just went, wow, I can't do that.
A 2-year starter for Illinois, George threw for over 5,000 yards in Champaign, while leading the Illini to 2 straight bowl games and a top 10 ranking his senior year.
George throws. End zone. Touchdown. Stephen Williams.
You didn't want to see him because you knew he was going to complete a lot of passes against you. He was going to create a lot of problems. And defensively, you're in for a long day against him.
At number 4, it's another Illini great, Tony Eason.
Mike White at Illinois was going to develop a pro-type offense with a pro-type passing, and Eason filled the bill.
Eason trying to set it up quick, does set it up quick. Pass is caught by Tim Brewster, his tight end.
Tony really fit our system extremely well. He's a West Coast quarterback. West Coast offense did a great job with timing. Again, had size, had athletic ability, and was an outstanding leader.
Eason getting a little heat. Gonna run it. He's got enough room. And he steps out of bounds. Tiptoes out at the 45 and a first down.
After transferring from a junior college in California, Eason made the most of his 2 seasons at Illinois. While leading the Illini to back-to-back winning seasons, he became just the 2nd player in NCAA history to pass for more than 3,000 yards in consecutive years.
Tony Eason had better numbers than any of the 3 quarterbacks we're talking about here. And he came out at the same time as Marino, and when those 2 guys came out of college, they were comparable. They were considered comparable. And Tony won a lot of games for Illinois. He just didn't get them to the Rose Bowl.
When you see a quarterback, I mean, football coaches and scouts can identify him immediately. You walk out there with a swagger. Tony Eason had that swagger. When he walked onto the field, he looked like he was the guy in charge. He looked like an athlete. He looked like a quarterback.
Art Schlichter was one of the most outstanding quarterbacks Ohio State will ever have. Probably he has one record that will never be broken. He was here 4 seasons, was the starter 4 seasons. Ohio State played 48 games over those 4 years, and Art Schlichter started every one of those games.
Spencer blocks, Schlichter throws in the end zone, touchdown!
He was a different kind of Ohio State quarterback. He could throw the ball, he could run a little bit, but he had an arm that they hadn't seen at Ohio State, and he was certainly a load for a lot of defenses.
He's a very strong physical runner and very dominant with the option. And then he can throw the football. He threw the ball well to some very speedy receivers, and he was tough. He took hits that would probably put the average player in not only pain, but in some type of injury.
Anderson out wide to the left. Schlichter looks at him, throws out over the middle. He's got a man. That's Williams. He's got it at the 30.
Schlichter led Ohio State to 2 Big Ten titles and left Columbus as the school's all-time leader in passing and total offense.
What stood out to me about Art Schlichter was when everything else broke down, he could still make a play. Those are the kind of quarterbacks that stand out in history.
Off the fake, on a roll. Schlichter trying to get a block. Keeping and into the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. What a play by Schlichter.
1981, playing against Michigan at Michigan. The play came in from the bench, was for a keeper to the left side for Art Schlichter. Instead, he basically blew the play, ran it to the right side, got a block from Von Brodnax, and scored the winning touchdown at the corner. Ohio State fans will remember that play forever.
Coming in at number 2, Michigan's Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh was a guy that just seemed to bring it all together, that seemed to be able to do so many things and be able to perform well on a big stage.
A 3-year starter for legendary head coach Bo Schembechler, Harbaugh led the nation in passing efficiency as a junior, as his Wolverines finished number 2 in the national polls.
And Harbaugh now looks to cash in. He's got a man going into the corner. Touchdown!
Jim Harbaugh is like a lot of the Michigan quarterbacks have been in the past, and like any good quarterback is, they don't give the ball away. They take care of the ball. That's the nugget. Don't be laying that thing around in the mud hole. Take care of it. And he's good at it.
Harbaugh keeps it. Gets away from Banks. Harbaugh running around, throws to the sidelines. Colasar at the 15 and knocked out at about the 13.
If you go back and look at that period of Wolverine football, it was very efficient. And Jim Harbaugh was probably underrated. He would hand the ball off when Bo wanted it handed off to all those great running backs that he had. But he was, as it turned out, a very, very good downfield passer.
Going big for Colasar. He's out there. He's got it. And he's out of bounds at the Notre Dame 40.
Then his senior year, Harbaugh was named the 1986 Big Ten Player of the Year after leading Michigan to a Big Ten championship and a Rose Bowl berth.
He had the respect of his players and his coaches, and you have to have that as a quarterback, and he had it. And not only did his team know that, but the opposing team knew it, and that's what you want to be as a quarterback.
On second down and goal from the 6, Harbaugh options around the corner, gets loose on the corner, touchdown.
I tell you what he was more than anything else. He was a guy that believed in himself. He had confidence of that he was a good quarterback and he was going to get the job done, and he did.
Number 1 quarterback of the 1980s, Chuck Long out of the University of Iowa.
Chuck Long should rank very high because he was a great football player. Talented, won a lot of football games, directed a great Iowa football team every year. I mean, he was a challenge. He was a load.
He was like some of those old long, tall guys at Cal, you know, who threw that rainbow downfield and things like that. Chuck could do all of that, and once in a great while, he'd tuck it under and run a little bit, and that was a revelation.
If you were a defensive back and Chuck Long had to escape out of the pocket because of pressure and he started to run the ball downfield, if you were a defensive back, in the back of your head, you were saying, oh my God, I gotta go tackle this guy.
Chuck Long was a very efficient passer, was very accurate. One of the things that gets overlooked with quarterbacks is accuracy. You don't have to throw the ball 60 yards, 70 yards. You don't have to do that. That's dramatic, and that'll make all the highlight reels for us in the evening news and everything. But it's that 6-yard pass and that 12-yard pass that you hit the receiver where he has to catch the ball and it is not intercepted. That's the key thing with a quarterback. It's just don't turn that football over when you drive down the field. And Chuck was very good at that. He protected the ball very, very well.
Long on first and goal. Lofting it into the end zone. Wide open is Smith, and a touchdown.
A 3-time All-Big Ten selection, Long led the Hawkeyes to 4 straight bowl berths and a Big Ten championship his senior year. During that 1985 season, Long had one of the greatest seasons in Big Ten history, passing for 3,297 yards and 27 touchdowns.
Productivity. It's all about productivity. You know, Chuck won a lot of football games. He's a guy that could win a game for you. Although he had some talent around him. He had Ronnie Harmon at running back and some great receivers with him, outstanding offensive lines, but he was productive. He made things happen.
He had maybe not the world's greatest skills as a passer, but as a thinker and an executor at the quarterback spot. He made the Hawks one of the teams of the 80s.
When Long's career was finished, he held all but one of Iowa's passing records, and with 10,461 passing yards, he became the first player in Big Ten history to pass for over 10,000 yards in a career. Long was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1999.
He could throw all the passes. He played on very good teams. He played during a time when Hayden Fry was reinventing the conference with the passing game, and Chuck Long was the reason why he did that. And that he's the quarterback against whom all Iowa quarterbacks are measured right now.
One of the best pure passers in the history of the Big Ten. Chuck Long had the stature, had the accuracy, had the poise, had the leadership, all those things that make him one of the greatest Big Ten passers in the history of the conference.
So there you have it, our list of the top 10 quarterbacks of the 1980s. And in case you